Listen to me carefully. This moment is not ordinary, and you did not arrive here by accident. Something is already shifting in your life, even if your eyes have not fully caught up with it yet. There is a divine upgrade happening right now. And the greatest resistance you are facing is not from the world, not from people, not from circumstances. It is from your hesitation to accept what God has already released. Your life is upgrading. Accept it now, not tomorrow, not when everything looks perfect, now. Because when God decides to elevate a life, the announcement comes before the evidence, and the acceptance must come before the manifestation. Many people miss divine upgrades because they keep negotiating with fear. They say, I'll believe it when I see it. But God has never worked that way. God speaks first, and then reality rearranges itself to obey that word. The problem is not that God has not spoken. The problem is that too many hearts are still clinging to an old version of themselves. You keep rehearsing who you were, what you failed at, what broke you, what delayed you, and God is saying, why are you living in a house I already moved you out of? This is not the season of explanation. This is the season of acceptance. Your life is upgrading. Accept it now. There are moments when God changes your direction quietly. No thunder, no noise, no dramatic announcement, just a deep inner knowing that something has shifted. You may still wake up in the same bed, go to the same job, face the same people, but internally the atmosphere has changed. God does not always upgrade environments first. God upgrades identity first. When your identity shifts, your environment is forced to follow. That is why some people feel uncomfortable right now. You are no longer aligned with your old limitations. You are growing faster than your surroundings, and that tension you feel is not a problem. It is proof of transition. Do not be surprised if what once satisfied you now feels empty. Do not be confused if conversations you used to enjoy now drain you. Do not panic if old goals suddenly feel too small. That is not confusion, that is elevation. God is refining your appetite because you cannot carry an upgraded life with outdated desires. When God prepares to increase a person, He first disrupts their comfort with the ordinary. You are not losing your peace. You are outgrowing what cannot go with you. Some of you are fighting this upgrade because you think you are not ready. You look at your flaws, your mistakes, your unfinished areas, and you say, God, fix me first. But hear this truth deeply. God does not upgrade the finished. God upgrades the willing. Readiness is not perfection. Readiness is surrender. The moment you say, God, I accept what you are doing, even though I don't fully understand it, heaven responds. God specializes in elevating people in process. If waiting to be perfect was the requirement, no one would ever rise. Your past does not disqualify you from this upgrade. It qualifies you. The very things you thought would destroy you have trained you for where God is taking you. Pain sharpened your discernment. Pressure strengthened your endurance. Delays deepened your dependence on God. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Nothing was accidental. God is too intentional to allow meaningless suffering. What you survived was not meant to end you. It was meant to expand you. Right now, God is asking you a simple but confronting question. Will you agree with what I say about your life, or will you keep agreeing with what you see? Because what you see is temporary, but what God speaks is eternal. You may see lack, but God speaks abundance. You may see weakness, but God speaks strength. You may see delay, but God speaks timing. Acceptance is not denial of reality, it is alignment with divine truth. When you accept God's perspective, reality has no choice but to shift. Some upgrades happen suddenly, and some happen silently. Not every blessing announces itself with noise. Sometimes God upgrades your patience before He upgrades your position. Sometimes God upgrades your wisdom before He upgrades your income. Sometimes God upgrades your character before He upgrades your influence. And if you resist those internal upgrades, you will sabotage the external ones. God is more interested in sustaining your elevation than rushing it. A fast rise without inner capacity becomes a fast fall. Do you know why some people cannot handle increase? Because they keep thinking small in a big season. They keep praying old prayers in a new dimension. They keep expecting God to do what He already outgrew. This is the hour to upgrade your expectations. Stop asking God for survival when He is offering overflow. Stop asking God to rescue you when He is calling you to reign. Stop asking God to fix what He is trying to transform. Your language must match your elevation. There is a divine acceleration happening now, but acceleration does not feel comfortable. When God speeds things up, it exposes areas that still depend on control instead of trust. Some of you are anxious not because something bad is coming, but because something big is coming, and your faith is being stretched to hold it. Anxiety often appears right before expansion. Do not interpret stretching as breaking. God does not stretch what He plans to destroy. He stretches what He plans to grow. Your life is upgrading, and that means certain doors will close without explanation. Do not chase what God has shut. Closure is not rejection, it is protection. God closes doors you would have stayed stuck in out of loyalty, fear, or habit. When a door closes and peace follows, that is God confirming the upgrades. Stop standing outside all entrances asking why. Turn around. There is a new entrance opening behind you. You must also understand this truth. Upgrades attract resistance. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because you are doing something right. When your life begins to rise, opposition reveals itself. Do not be distracted by it. Resistance is often a sign that you are crossing a boundary you were never meant to stay behind. God allows resistance to strengthen your conviction, not weaken it. What pushes against you is confirming your direction. Some of you need to stop apologizing for becoming more. You are not arrogant for honoring what God is doing in you. You are not proud for refusing to shrink. Humility is not self-rejection. Humility is agreement with God. If God calls you higher, humility says yes. If God expands your influence, humility steps into it with responsibility. False humility rejects the gift. True humility carries it well. Your upgrade will require new discipline. Old habits cannot sustain a new level. God will call you to think differently, speak differently, and move differently. This is not punishment, it is preparation. Discipline is not restriction, it is alignment. God disciplines what He values. If He did not see greatness in you, He would leave you undisturbed. The discomfort you feel is not God pulling away. It is God drawing you closer to purpose. Some of you are waiting for permission from people who are still living in yesterday. You are waiting for validation from voices that have never seen where God is taking you. Stop outsourcing your confidence. God's approval is already enough. When God upgrades your life, not everyone will understand it, and not everyone needs to. Obedience will often make you look foolish before it makes you look favored. This is also the season where God upgrades your discernment. You will see clearly who is assigned to your future and who was only meant for a chapter. Do not cling to connections that God is gently loosening. Release does not mean bitterness, it means trust. God knows who can walk with you at the next level. Let God curate your circle. Loneliness for a moment is better than compromise for a lifetime. Your finances, your health, your purpose, your peace, none of these are excluded from God's upgrade. God is holistic. When God blesses, He does not do it halfway. But understand this, the greatest upgrade is not what you receive, it is who you become. When God upgrades your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to respond. You cannot stay the same and carry more. Growth demands change. Right now, God is inviting you into agreement. Agreement is powerful. Agreement is creative. Agreement activates. When you agree with God, you stop fighting the process and start flowing with it. Say it in your spirit. Even if your mouth trembles, I accept the upgrade. Not because everything is clear, but because God is faithful. Not because the path is easy, but because God is leading. Not because you feel strong, but because God is your strength. There will be moments when the upgrade feels like loss. When old versions of you fall away, it can feel like grief. But you are not losing yourself, you are meeting yourself. The real you, the one God always saw, is emerging. Let the old layers fall. Let the old fears dissolve. Let the old limitations break. You cannot step into new authority carrying old insecurity. God is not intimidated by your questions, but He will not pause purpose until you feel comfortable. Faith is not comfort-based, it is trust-based, and trust grows when you move, even when clarity is incomplete. This is why God often reveals the next step and not the full staircase. If you saw everything at once, you would try to control it. God wants cooperation, not control. Your words matter now more than ever. Speak upgrade even when you don't see it yet. Speak life over your future. Speak strength over your weakness. Speak abundance over your lack. Words are not decoration, they are direction. What you consistently speak, you eventually step into. Align your speech with God's intention. There is a new authority coming into your life. Not the authority to dominate others, but the authority to govern yourself. Emotional maturity, spiritual clarity, mental stability. These are signs of upgrade. God is teaching you how to respond instead of react, how to listen instead of assume, how to rest instead of rush. Peace is not the absence of pressure, it is the presence of trust. You have survived seasons that should have broken you. That alone is evidence of divine involvement. God do. S, not preserve what He does not plan to promote. Your endurance is proof of calling. Your resilience is proof of purpose. Your continued standing is proof of grace. God kept you because you are needed for what is next. Do not rush the process, but do not resist it either. Flow with God. When He says move, move. When He says wait, wait. When He says release, release. Upgrades are not forced, they are received. Acceptance is your responsibility. God has already done His part. Right now, in this very moment, something is being sealed in your spirit. A decision, a shift, a quiet confidence that says, I will not live beneath what God has spoken over me. That decision will change how you wake up, how you pray, how you work, how you endure. This is not hype. This is alignment. Your life is upgrading. Not because you earned it, but because God is gracious. Not because you figured everything out, but because God is faithful. Not because the road has been easy, but because God has been present. Accept it now. Step into it now. Walk like it is already happening. Believe like it is already done. Live like God's word is final, because it is. And as you continue forward, you will notice doors responding, strength rising, clarity sharpening, and a deep, unshakable knowing that you are no longer who you were, and you can never go back to living small when God has already called you higher. There is a divine law at work that many overlook. When God upgrades a life, He first redefines the person's sense of normal. What once felt extraordinary becomes ordinary, and what once felt impossible becomes expected. This is why some of you feel restless even in blessing. God is shifting your baseline. You are no longer meant to celebrate what you used to pray for. You are meant to steward it and move higher. Gratitude remains. but amazement gives way to responsibility. God is training you not just to receive, but to manage increase with wisdom and reverence. You must understand that divine upgrades often arrive disguised as pressure. God applies pressure not to crush you, but to reveal your strength. Diamonds are not discovered in comfort zones. Oil is not produced without crushing. And destiny is not unlocked without resistance. If you feel weighty responsibility settling on your shoulders, it is not a burden, it is evidence of trust. God does not entrust weight to the weak. He entrusts it to those He has fortified in secret. There are seasons when God speaks louder through silence than through miracles. Silence does not mean absence. Silence means God is watching how you move without constant reassurance. Faith that only functions when God speaks audibly is immature faith. Mature faith obeys even when heaven seems quiet because it knows God's character. This upgrade is taking you from dependency on signs to confidence in alignment. Some of you are experiencing divine separation, and you are misinterpreting it as isolation. God is not pushing you away from people. He is pulling you closer to purpose. Crowds can celebrate you, but only alignment can sustain you. God will reduce your noise so you can hear instruction clearly. You cannot receive precise direction in a distracted spirit. Solitude sharpens discernment. Stillness refines obedience. Your upgrade also involves a shift in how you handle offense. At the next level, you cannot afford to bleed immota. Only over every misunderstanding. God is strengthening your emotional boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Forgiveness remains, but access becomes selective. Wisdom teaches you that peace is not found in being understood by everyone, but in being aligned with God. This is also a season where God is uprooting comparison from your heart. Comparison is a thief of clarity. When you compare your journey to another, you dishonor the unique path God designed for you. God never mass produces destinies. Your pace, your process, your progression are intentional. What looks slow to you may be precise to God. Timing is not delay when it is divine. There are new levels of authority opening to you, and authority begins with obedience. Authority is not volume, it is alignment. Authority is not force, it is clarity. When you walk in step with God, resistance recognizes it. Doors open not because you knock loudly, but because you arrive with authorization. Heaven backs what God initiates. Some of you need to release the idea that struggle means failure. Often struggle is simply the sound of growth. Muscles ache when they are strengthening. Minds strain when they are expanding. Spirits wrestle when they are ascending. God is not disappointed in your struggle. He is present in it. What you are working through is working for you. God is also upgrading how you see provision. Provision is not only money, it is ideas, relationships, timing, protection, and favor. Sometimes God does not increase what you have. He increases what you can see. A shifted perspective unlocks resources that were already around you. Vision is a form of wealth, and God is enlarging yours. Your prayer life is being refined as well. You are moving from desperate requests to confident declarations. You are no longer begging for what God already promised. You are aligning with what God already spoke. Prayer at this level is less about convincing God and more about agreeing with Him. Agreement releases power. There will be moments when obedience costs you comfort. Choose obedience anyway. Comfort is temporary. Purpose is eternal. God does not reward convenience. He honors surrender. Every step of obedience plants a seed that will grow in a season you cannot yet see. Trust the unseen harvest. God is teaching you restraint. Not every battle needs your energy. Not every argument deserves your voice. Wisdom knows when to engage and when to withdraw. Silence can be strategic. Stillness can be strength. When God fights for you, your restraint becomes your testimony. Your upgrade also touches your thought life. Old mental loops are being broken. Cycles of doubt, fear, and self-sabotage are losing their grip. God is renewing your mind so your future does not look like your past. Thoughts shape direction. When your thinking changes, your trajectory changes. Some of you are being called to lead even if the title has not arrived yet. Leadership begins with responsibility, not recognition. God trains leaders in obscurity because applause can corrupt before character is formed. Serve faithfully where you are. God sees what people overlook. There's also a call to generosity in this upgrade, not only with resources, but with grace, patience, and encouragement. What flows through you multiplies. What you hoard stagnates. God blesses channels, not containers. Keep your heart open. Keep your hands free. You may feel moments of holy dissatisfaction, a sense that there must be more. That feeling is not ingratitude, it is invitation. God stirs hunger to draw you higher. Do not numb that hunger. Feed it with prayer, discipline, and courage. God is aligning timing now. Delayed promises are converging. Seeds planted in tears are breaking through soil. What you sowed in faith is responding to heaven's signal. Do not give up in the final stretch. Many stop just before momentum shifts. Endurance is often the last requirement before breakthrough. Your upgrade will require faith that outgrows evidence. Evidence follows faith, not the other way around. Walk as though God's word is settled, because it is. Move as though provision is assured, because it is. Rest as though the outcome is secure, because God is faithful. This is not a season to shrink back into old identities. You are not who fear says you are. You are not who failure tried to label you as. You are who God declared you to be. Identity precedes destiny. Stand firm in who you are becoming. There is divine alignment happening in unseen places, conversations you are not part of, decisions you did not influence, favor you did not request. God is working ahead of you. You are not late. You are right on time. Let go of urgency born from fear. Move with urgency born from purpose. There is a difference. Fear rushes, faith flows. Trust the rhythm God is setting. Strain is not a sign of faithfulness. Obedience carried with peace is strength. Your life is not upgrading to impress others. It is upgrading to fulfill assignment. Impact matters more than image. Legacy matters more than applause. Go. D is positioning you to influence lives, shift atmospheres, and reflect divine order wherever you go. Stay humble, stay teachable, stay obedient. Pride stalls elevation, but humility accelerates it. Humility keeps you grounded while God lifts you higher. Remember who sustained you when no one saw you. Gratitude preserves favor. This upgrade is not fragile. What God builds is stable. What God establishes is enduring. Storms may come, but foundations set by God do not shake. Stand firm. You are not imagining the shift. You are not exaggerating the sense of change. You are not being unrealistic. You are discerning correctly. God is upgrading your life layer by layer, strength by strength, clarity by clarity. And as you continue forward, walking in agreement, moving in trust and standing in faith, the evidence will align with the word. The promise will meet the process. And what God has begun will continue unfolding with unstoppable purpose and divine precision. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with elevation, and God is awakening you to it now. An upgraded life is not just about receiving more, it is about representing God more accurately. At higher levels, your reactions preach louder than your words. Your integrity becomes visible. Your consistency becomes noticeable. God is shaping you into a living testimony where your discipline speaks, your patience teaches, and your faith reassures others that God is dependable. This is not about public display. This is about private alignment that produces public fruit. God is also refining how you interpret hardship. At lower levels, hardship feels like punishment. At higher levels, hardship becomes instruction. You begin to ask different questions, not why is this happening to me, but what is God forming in me through this? Wisdom replaces complaint. Discernment replaces despair. You stop wasting pain and start extracting purpose from it. This shift alone marks maturity and readiness for more. Some of you are entering a phase where God removes your safety nets, not to make you fall, but to teach you to trust His support fully. When familiar supports disappear, divine support becomes undeniable. God wants you to know that your stability does not come from systems, people, or routines. It comes from Him. When God is your foundation, nothing external can collapse your inner strength. Your upgrade also brings clarity about authority. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. Validation becomes unnecessary when identity is settled. You move quietly, confidently, and decisively. When you know who you are before God, competition dissolves. You stop racing others and start running your race with focus and peace. Confidence rooted in God does not shout, it stands. God is training you to value long-term fruit over short-term relief. Quick fixes lose their appeal. You are becoming willing to endure discomfort for lasting impact. This is the mindset of builders, not consumers. Builders think generationally. Builders invest when others retreat. Builders obey even when results are delayed. God is shaping you into someone who builds what will outlive them. There is also a purification of motive happening now. God is stripping away hidden agendas, ego-driven goals, and validation-seeking actions. What remains is pure intention to honor God and fulfill assignment. Pure motives carry great power. When your heart is aligned, resistance loses its leverage. God breathes on purity of intention. Some of you are experiencing divine recall. God calling back dreams you buried, visions you postponed, and callings you minimized. What you thought expired was only dormant. God revives what He authors. Do not underestimate what God can restore. Time does not intimidate Him. Delay does not cancel destiny. God is also upgrading your capacity to wait. Waiting is not stagnation, it is positioning. While you wait, God aligns people, conditions, and timing. Rushed fulfillment can damage what patience would protect. Waiting teaches trust, sharpens discernment, and deepens reliance on God. Those who wait well move wisely. Your discernment is becoming sharper, and with it comes responsibility. You see through illusions more easily now. You recognize manipulation, distraction, and misalignment faster. Use this discernment with humility, not arrogance. Discernment is a tool for protection, not superiority. God entrusts insight to those who will use it with grace. This upgrade is also redefining success for you. Success is no longer measured by applause, speed, or comparison. Success becomes obedience, peace, and impact. When you sleep well at night, walk without guilt, and move without fear, you are successful. God values inner order more than outer noise. God is strengthening your resilience. Setbacks will no longer derail you, they will redirect you. You recover faster now. You learn quicker. You move forward without carrying bitterness. This emotional resilience is a sign of growth. You are no longer fragile, you are flexible, and flexibility survives pressure. Your general City of Spirit is increasing. You celebrate others without envy. You bless without expecting return. You give credit freely. This generosity multiplies favor. God honors those who are secure enough to uplift others. In doing so, you create space for God to uplift you. There will be moments when obedience places you alone. Loneliness does not mean abandonment. Some paths are narrow because they are sacred. God walks closely with those paths. Intimacy with God deepens when distractions fall away. What feels like solitude becomes sanctuary. God is teaching you stewardship over time. You become more intentional, less scattered. You understand that focus is a form of worship. How you spend your time reflects what you honor. God multiplies what is prioritized rightly. Focused lives produce lasting fruit. Your words are carrying more weight now. Speak carefully, bless intentionally, avoid careless speech. At higher levels, words build or destroy more quickly. God is inviting you to partner with Him through speech that aligns with truth, life, and purpose. You are also learning to rest without guilt. Rest is not laziness, it is trust. Rest declares that God is at work even when you pause. Burnout is not a badge of faithfulness. Sustainability matters to God. He values your wholeness. God is aligning your courage with wisdom. You take bold steps but not reckless ones. You move decisively but prayerfully. Courage without wisdom leads to chaos. Wisdom without courage leads to stagnation. God is balancing both within you. Your upgrade includes peace in uncertainty. You no longer need all the answers to move forward. Faith fills the gaps. Trust replaces anxiety. God's presence becomes your assurance. When peace remains in the unknown, growth is evident. This is also a season of remembrance. Remember where God brought you from. Memory fuels gratitude. Gratitude protects humility. Humility sustains elevation. Never forget the unseen moments when God carried you silently. God is refining your sense of purpose. Distractions lose appeal. You feel drawn to what matters eternally. Purpose simplifies life. It filters decisions. It clarifies priorities. When purpose is clear, confusion fades. There is a strengthening of your inner voice, the quiet confidence that discerns God's leading. You recognize direction without needing constant confirmation. This is maturity. This is trust. This is relationship. You are not chasing upgrade. You are walking into it. You are not striving for favor. You are living from it. You are not forcing doors. You are discerning timing. God's hand is steady, precise, and intentional. As you continue forward, remain anchored. Storms do not signal failure. They test foundations. Yours is firm. God has been building deeply, not just visibly. Depth sustains height. Let faith remain active. Obedience remains steady. Humility remains central. And trust remain unshaken. What God is doing in you is layered, intentional, and unstoppable. Your life is upgrading, unfolding with purpose, maturing with wisdom, strengthening with faith, and aligning fully with what God designed, ordained, and continues to establish in you day by day. There is a sacred recalibration happening within you, and God is the one adjusting the measure. What once overwhelmed you no longer has the same power because God is expanding your capacity. You are not stronger by accident, you are stronger by design. God stretches capacity before He increases responsibility. That is why situations that once intimidated you now feel manageable. It is not because the challenge shrank. It is because you grew. God is also teaching you how to stand firm without becoming rigid. Flexibility is a sign of wisdom. You are learning when to hold your ground and when to yield. Yielding is not weakness when it is guided by God. Sometimes yielding protects purpose. Sometimes yielding preserves peace. God gives wisdom to know the difference, and that wisdom is being poured into you now. This upgrade is revealing a deeper understanding of trust. Trust is no longer something you speak only in prayer. It is something you practice in decision-making. You trust God with outcomes you cannot control. You trust God with timing you cannot manipulate. You trust God with people you cannot change. This trust frees your spirit from unnecessary strain and allows divine order to operate without interference. God is also awakening a sharper sense of accountability. You understand that your choices echo beyond the moment. At higher levels, small decisions carry larger consequences. This awareness is not meant to burden you, it is meant to guide you. Wisdom walks carefully, not fearfully. God's guidance keeps you aligned when distractions attempt to pull you off course. There is a refining fire touching your inner life, and it is gentle yet precise. God is burning away motives that once felt harmless but would hinder you at the next level. This refinement is an act of mercy. God removes what cannot survive where you are going, so you do not have to carry unnecessary. Purity of heart creates clarity of direction. Some of you are experiencing divine conviction, not condemnation. Conviction restores alignment. Condemnation destroys confidence. God convicts those He intends to elevate. He corrects those He intends to trust. Receive correction with gratitude because it is proof of God's investment in you. Your patience is being fortified. You no longer react impulsively. You pause, you discern, you respond with intention. This patience is power under control. God trusts those who can wait without losing faith. Waiting strengthens roots, and deep roots sustain tall growth. God is also reshaping how you view responsibility. Responsibility is no longer something you avoid. It is something you embrace. You understand that responsibility is evidence of trust. God places responsibility on those He knows will steward it with care, carry it with humility, and it will produce authority. This upgrade also invites you to release the need for immediate understanding. God does not reveal everything at once because revelation unfolds in stages. Each stage prepares you for the next. If you had full clarity too early, it would overwhelm you. God reveals what you need, when you need it, in the measure you can carry. Your faith is becoming quieter but stronger. It does not need constant affirmation. It does not need public validation. It is rooted, settled, and assured. Quiet faith moves mountains because it is not distracted by noise. God honors faith that endures without spectacle. God is also teaching you how to honor boundaries. Boundaries protect purpose. They preserve energy. They maintain focus. You are learning that saying no can be as spiritual as saying yes. Discernment guides both. God does not require exhaustion to prove devotion. There is a new steadiness in your walk. You are not rushing ahead of God, and you are not lagging behind. You are learning rhythm. God moves with intention, not chaos. When you move in rhythm with Him, life gains flow and balance. God is also aligning your courage with compassion. Strength without compassion becomes harsh. Compassion without strength becomes ineffective. God is merging both within you so that your impact heals rather than harms. Authority wrapped in compassion reflects divine wisdom. Your sense of purpose is becoming refined. You are no longer scattered across many pursuits. Focus sharpens direction. Direction amplifies impact. God simplifies so He can multiply. Simplicity clears space for excellence. This upgrade also deepens your gratitude. Gratitude grounds you. It keeps you aware of God's hand in every step. Gratitude prevents entitlement and sustains humility. When gratitude flows freely, favor flows consistently. God is reminding you that progress is not always visible immediately. Roots grow underground before fruit appears above ground. Trust the hidden work. God is active even when you cannot see movement. Hidden seasons are not empty seasons, they are formative seasons. You are also learning discernment in rest. Rest is strategic. Rest renews strength. Rest sharpens vision. God rested not because he was tired, but because completion requires reflection. Rest honors God's design for sustainability. God is strengthening your resilience against disappointment. Expectations no longer crush you when unmet. You adjust without losing faith. You adapt without losing direction. Resilience allows you to continue without hardening your heart. This upgrade brings clarity in relationships. You engage with sincerity. You listen more attentively. You speak more thoughtfully. Relationships become purposeful rather than habitual. God aligns connections that support growth and gently fades those that hinder it. Your obedience is becoming prompt. Delayed obedience loses power. You move when God instructs. You trust that clarity follows movement. God honors obedience that is swift and sincere. There's also an awakening of joy within you. Not joy based on circumstances, but joy anchored in assurance. Joy strengthens endurance. Joy fuels perseverance. God's joy becomes your strength in challenging moments. God is aligning your vision with endurance. Vision without endurance fades. Endurance without vision tires. God is merging both so you can sustain momentum over time. Long-term faith produces lasting fruit. You are no longer intimidated by the unknown. The unknown becomes an invitation to trust. Fear diminishes as confidence in God's faithfulness grows. Trust stabilizes the heart. God is teaching you to celebrate progress without arrogance. Celebrate growth without comparison. Celebrate milestones without forgetting the journey. Gratitude keeps celebration pure. This upgrade is steady, intentional, and purposeful. God is not rushing, he is establishing. What he establishes remains. What he builds endures. Your life is not being renovated temporarily. It is being transformed permanently. As you continue forward, remain anchored in trust, grounded in humility, guided by wisdom, and strengthened by faith. God's work in you is unfolding with precision, depth, and divine timing, carrying you steadily into a life that reflects his intention, his order, and his enduring purpose without wavering or retreating. There is a deeper awakening happening now, and it is centered on responsibility to truth. God is not only upgrading your circumstances, he is upgrading your discernment between what is good and what is necessary. At lower levels, good options are enough. At higher levels, only what is aligned will sustain you. God is sharpening your ability to say, this may look good, but it is not mine. That clarity is protection. That clarity is maturity. That clarity is evidence that God is preparing you for weightier assignments. God is also teaching you how to stand without constant reassurance. You are learning to draw confidence from conviction, not applause. When affirmation is absent, faith becomes louder. When encouragement is scarce, inner assurance grows stronger. God is training you to be stable in seasons where others waver. Stability is not emotional numbness, it is spiritual rootedness. Rooted people do not topple easily. This upgrade brings a new relationship with discipline. Discipline is no longer something you force, it becomes something you value. You understand now that discipline creates freedom. Order creates margin. Structure creates sustainability. God is not limiting you. He is liberating you from chaos. What you manage well today will multiply tomorrow. God is also elevating your sense of stewardship over influence. Influence is not about visibility, it is about impact. God is teaching you that how you treat people when no one is watching matters deeply. Influence grows quietly when character is consistent. God entrusts greater reach to those who honor responsibility in private. There is a strengthening of your inner resolve. You no longer retreat at the first sign of resistance. You have learned that resistance is not rejection. Resistance refines intention. It forces clarity. It strengthens endurance. God uses resistance to burn away shallow commitment, leaving behind unwavering resolve. Your perspective on time is being redeemed. You are no longer anxious about pace. You understand that speed without direction leads to exhaustion. Direction without speed leads to frustration. God is teaching you timing, when to move quickly, when to wait patiently, and when to remain still. Timing is wisdom applied to movement. God is also awakening a deeper reverence within you. Reverence is not fear, it is awareness of God's authority and faithfulness. Reverence anchors humility. It keeps you from becoming casual with sacred responsibility. When reverence is present, obedience flows naturally. Some of you are learning how to navigate success without losing dependence on God. Success can be louder than failure if you are not anchored. God is teaching you to remain prayerful, grateful, and teachable even as doors open. Dependence on God is not a phase, it is a posture for life. This upgrade also includes healing from subtle wounds, disappointments you never voiced, betrayals you minimized, fatigue you normalized. God heals thoroughly, not partially. He restores strength where you learn to cope. Healing renews capacity. Renewed capacity prepares you for more. God is refining your response to uncertainty. Uncertainty no longer paralyzes you, it positions you. You understand that faith does not require certainty, only trust. Trust allows movement even when outcomes are unseen. God honors steps taken in trust. Your sense of mission is becoming clearer. You are no longer distracted by everything that demands attention. Focus has become selective. Selectivity protects purpose. God teaches you that saying yes to everything means saying no to your assignment. There is also a renewal of hope within you. Not naive hope, but anchored hope. Hope grounded in God's faithfulness, not circumstances. Anchored hope steadies the soul during waiting. It keeps your vision alive when progress feels slow. God is also teaching you how to correct without condemning, how to lead without dominating, how to influence without controlling. Authority at this level is servant-hearted and wisdom-led. God elevates leaders who reflect His patience and justice. You are becoming more intentional with your energy. You understand that energy is sacred. Where you invest it matters. God is guiding you to invest energy where fruit will grow, not where exhaustion will spread. This upgrade sharpens your sense of accountability to God alone. You are no longer driven by external pressure. Obedience becomes internal and sincere. When obedience flows from the heart, it remains consistent even when no one is watching. God is teaching you endurance that is joyful, not bitter. Endurance that believes even while waiting. Endurance that trusts even while stretching. This endurance is not forced. It is fueled by hope and sustained by faith. Your identity is becoming settled. You no longer borrow confidence from circumstances. You no longer define yourself by temporary outcomes. Identity rooted in God remains stable through change. God is also aligning your expectations with wisdom. You expect growth, but you also expect process. You expect favor, but you also expect responsibility. Balanced expectations prevent disappointment and sustain momentum. This upgrade invites you into deeper gratitude for the unseen work. Gratitude for protection you never noticed. Gratitude for redirection you once resisted. Gratitude for delays that saved you from harm. Gratitude keeps the heart soft and receptive. God is not only preparing you for what is next, He is preparing what is next for you. Alignment is happening on both sides. Your readiness is meeting divine timing. Remain attentive, remain humble, remain faithful. God's hand is steady, His intention is clear, and His work within you is unfolding with purpose. Your life is upgrading in depth, in strength, in clarity, and in alignment, shaped by God's wisdom, sustained by His guidance, and anchored firmly in His unchanging truth. Now, hear this clearly and let it settle deep within your spirit. This upgrade was never accidental, delayed, or misplaced. God does nothing randomly. Every shift you sensed, every pressure you endured, every door that closed, and every new stirring within you was orchestrated with precision. God has been guiding you step by step, even when you thought you were standing still. What felt like waiting was alignment. What felt like loss was preparation. What felt like silence was instruction being formed within you. This is the moment to fully agree with what God has been declaring over your life. Agreement is not passive, it is active trust. Agreement is choosing to walk forward even when emotions fluctuate. Agreement is standing firm when evidence is incomplete. Agreement is saying, God, I trust your wisdom above my understanding. When you agree, resistance loses its power. When you agree, fear weakens. When you agree, clarity sharpens. Do not underestimate the authority of a settled heart. A heart anchored in God cannot be shaken by circumstances. Storms may arise, but direction remains steady. Opposition may speak, but truth stands louder. The upgrade you are walking into is not fragile, it is fortified. God has strengthened your foundation so that elevation will not overwhelm you. You are prepared to carry what is coming. Move forward without apology. Walk with humility, but not hesitation. Carry gratitude, but not insecurity. Let your confidence be quiet and your faith be unwavering. You do not need to announce what God is doing. Fruit will speak for itself. Let consistency testify. Let integrity speak. Let endurance reveal the work of God in you. Stay attentive to God's voice above all others. Voices will rise, opinions will vary, circumstances will fluctuate, but God remains constant. When direction feels unclear, return to trust. When the path feels narrow, remember it is intentional. When the journey feels long, remember endurance is producing strength you will soon need. You are not stepping into chaos, you are stepping into order. You are not walking into uncertainty, you are walking into alignment. You are not hoping for change, you are cooperating with transformation. God has already gone ahead of you, preparing the way, stabilizing the ground, and ensuring that what unfolds will serve purpose, not ego. Let your life reflect reverence. Let your actions mirror obedience. Let your words carry faith. Let your posture remain teachable. This is how elevation is sustained. This is how favor is honored. This is how destiny unfolds without regret. Stand firm in this truth and carry it with conviction. Your life is upgrading because God is faithful, intentional, and precise. What He has started, He is sustaining. What He is sustaining, He is strengthening. What He is strengthening, He is establishing. And as you continue forward in trust, obedience, humility, and faith, you will live in alignment with what God has ordained, walking steadily in purpose, anchored in truth, and positioned exactly where God intended you to be